Hello everybody and welcome back to my booktube channel. My name is Kat and today we're going to be talking about every single book that I read in the month of June. And there is actually quite a bit in contrast to previous months. Firstly, I'd like to say I'm sorry for my disappearance the past couple weeks. I intended to film a video before I left on a trip to California and I did not end up having time to film. And then I was gonna film a video while I was in California and I ended up not feeling like it because I was sitting on the beach reading every single day. So instead, this is the video we're getting 2 weeks later, but nonetheless, it's a video and it's a good video. So let's go ahead and get started. So if you guys have been keeping up with my videos, you know the last video or one of the last videos that I filmed was me rereading A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is the first book that I ended up reading this month. If you'd like to see my full reaction and my full reading vlog, go ahead and click up here and I will have that linked for you. And I will talk a lot more about my thoughts. This was my second time reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I liked it 10,000 times more on the reread just because I felt like with more context I was able to appreciate what I was seeing and like what I know is going to be happening. So I really enjoyed that video that I filmed as well. I thought it was a really well done video, one of my favorite ones I filmed, so please go check that out. Next up, I did a lot of physical copies at the beginning of the month. I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and this book was so good. I have heard a lot of things about A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and that whole series, but I had just never picked it up because I do enjoy mysteries and thrillers, and I thought that reading a YA mystery or thriller was going to be too like juvenile in terms of like what they were going to talk about, what they were going to say, what the murder was going to be like, and I thought it would be too easy for me to figure out. I never ever in a million years saw any of what happened in that novel coming. Like, so many surprises. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is about high school senior Pip, who is doing her senior project on a local mystery. A few years prior, a girl named Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend, and nothing about the case really sat right with Pip. She always thought that things were odd. A few other people had raised concerns about thinking things were a little bit off about it, but no one ever really did anything because Andy Bell's boyfriend who murdered her is dead. So there was nothing they could really do, and he never really got to fully share his story about what happened. So Pip teams up with the boyfriend's younger brother, and they set out to figure out who really killed Andy Bell, if Andy Bell is still alive because there was no body, and all of that good stuff. It was a great book. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't like too YA at all, so if that has ever stopped you from reading this book, do not let it. Go pick it up and read it. Highly recommend. Next up, I read Dating You, Hating You by Christina Lauren, and I actually intended to read this book in June. I picked it up at the beginning of May, sorry. Meant to read this book in May, ended up picking up beginning of May. Never really got to it, but it was cute. It was definitely not my favorite book. It wasn't the best Christina Lauren book I've read by far, but I did like it. I gave it 3 stars. It has way more to do with workplace equality than it does with romance, in my personal opinion. There is definitely a plot of romance, but basically these 2 Hollywood agents work for 2 different agencies, and they meet at a Halloween party, really hit it off, and then like a couple weeks later or a week later, they go into work to find out that their companies are merging and only a certain number of employees are being kept and certain people are getting promoted because of a bunch of shifts. And so they kind of become rivals and they have to compete and prove that they are worthy of the position. But the boss in this book is incredibly misogynistic, and I feel like that is way more of the plot of this book, is about like the misogyny and how she handles that and how the love interest responds to it. So it was a good book, but I really like Christina Lauren, and this definitely was not a romance that I would recommend from them. Love in Other Words is way better. So I would pick that up way before I would pick this up, but I don't regret reading it. I gave it 3 stars. Next, I dove into the world of graphic novels and I read Heartstopper 1, 2, 3, took a break, and then 4. And I loved Heartstopper. I don't know why it's taken me so long to read them, but my local library had them on Libby, and I was kind of in a reading slump, and I was like, you know what, I think a graphic novel actually might be a good change of pace. I've never read one before, and I've obviously heard amazing things about Heartstopper. I did not think that Heartstopper would make me cry. Literally in the first one, crying. I gave every single one of them 5 stars. They were so cute, so well done. They took me like 30 minutes to an hour to get through, depending on like if I was taking my time or kind of flipping through. But I read most of them within a day. If you are someone who struggles with like keeping attention in a book, a graphic novel is a great option for you. And I'm definitely gonna be looking into reading more graphic novels. So if you have recommendations, please leave them down below, because I don't even know where to start because I'm not like a manga fan. I don't really wanna read manga. But if there are graphic novels that might be more my thing, let me know, please, because I loved it. In between Heartstopper 3 and 4, I took a weird break and I read The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan, and I gave it 2 stars. Great book. Would have been so much better if it wasn't 336 pages. The concept of this book is a weird one. So the mom in the book is named Frida, and Frida is a kind of newly divorced single mother. Right after giving birth to her child, she finds out her husband had been cheating on her, and in an attempt to work it out, they last about like 2 weeks before he's like, no, I want to go be with this other girl. So Frida has kind of had her world thrown upside down very quickly, and she has a lapse in judgment, and she commits a crime, abandoning her child for a certain period of time. The book refers to this as Frida's very bad day because she has a lapse in judgment and makes a mistake she wouldn't typically make and loses custody of her child. Now, in this book, it is a dystopian. So she meets with a lawyer, and over the course of 6 months, she figures out that she is not going to be getting her baby back anytime soon, except CPS has this new program that they're doing called the School for Bad Mothers, where they are taking these women to a undisclosed location, and they will be at a training camp for about a year where they have to relearn how to be moms. So as the story unfolds, we find out these offenses range from actual, what we all know as child abuse, to one girl let her niece, who was only 13, babysit, and that was considered a crime horrific enough for her to have to go to the School for Bad Mothers. And the way that they retrain these moms is with like robot children. It's a very interesting concept. It's honestly, it would make a great like mini series on like Hulu or Netflix, but I wish it wasn't so long because the book is very repetitive and redundant, but the concept is so good and so interesting that like if you are a fan of dystopian, I think I would recommend it. Just know that you got to be kind of in it for the long haul because it takes a while to get through. I give it 2 stars. I know I'm talking about it being good and I only gave it 2 stars, but it's really just because I felt like I was dragging through it. It's like in theory, this book is so good, but in execution, it just really fell short for me. Then, like I said, I read Heartstopper Volume 4. Next up, I, over the course of the month, read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. And I listened to this on audiobook because she actually narrated it, and it was interesting hearing it from her like voice. It felt more connected. But I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. But if you were a fan of Jeanette McCurdy or iCarly, or honestly, if you're a fan of any Nickelodeon shows in that era, I would highly recommend this book. It's very insightful into what it's actually like and the whole Dan Schneider situation. We touch on Ariana Grande a little bit, but overall it's about Jeanette McCurdy and her relationship with her abusive mother. And yeah, there's not really that much else that I can say about it. without getting really specific, but I would highly recommend it. It was really great. And if you have the chance, totally check out the audiobook. Scribd is a new service I started using. I got 2 months free with a referral code from one of my friends, and this audiobook is on there as well as the book for completely free. Next up, I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was super excited for this book because I do love Taylor Jenkins Reid, her style of writing, but I hadn't really gone too much into, I guess I have gone into this universe since I've read 3 out of 4 of the books. But I hadn't really considered picking up this book until quite recently. I read most of it on an airplane and then the rest of it on the beach in California, so it was very Malibu Rising, except I wasn't in Malibu. But great book. This book is a part of Taylor Jenkins Reid's universe, where she kind of has her own like old Hollywood, and it talks about singers, surfers, whatever. However, this one is specifically about a family who their father abandoned them, and they were raised by their mother, then they were raised by their sister, and they throw this big house party every single year, and it is notorious for crazy things happening at this party. And this year, as this party is getting closer, because it takes you through the entire day of the party, we learn a lot of family secrets are coming out, more about each individual child's history, their relationship with their mother, their father, their siblings, their love life. Their father does come into play in the book, long lost siblings, pregnancy, marriage, cheating, everything. We reference Evelyn Hugo. Carrie Soto is a big player in this, well, not a big player, but she does come up quite a bit, and she is our main character's almost nemesis in a way. You'll see. And at the end of the night, the party goes up in flames. So I enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I would recommend it as like a casual read. It's not the kind of book where you're like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? But it is a really good book for casual entertainment, a great book to read on the beach. It's just like, it flows so well. If you have read Taylor Jenkins Reid, you know she does an incredible job of pushing you through the story without you like, I don't know, like nothing crazy is happening, but you still just like have momentum. You want to keep going. So I did really enjoy this book, and I would highly recommend it. And lastly, I'm halfway through this book, but I'm still going to talk about it. I'm reading The Hotel Nantucket by Erin Hildebrand, and I love this book. It is so good. It is the same exact thing as I was saying about Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's like just pushing you through. Like, we have like pockets where we're like, oh my God, I have to keep reading. But overall, it's like just pushing me through. It's like lulling me through. I've read it on the airplane on the way back and a little bit on the beach, and now I'm finishing up. I only have about 100 pages left, but so far, I'm loving it. The premise of the book is this girl, Lisbeth is her name, so we're gonna call her Liz. Liz was in a very, very long-term relationship, like 15 years, with this guy, and they owned a little restaurant together. And she found out that he was cheating on her with one of their like wine reps. So she's like, I'm done, I'm out of here. But everybody knows that she manages this place, and she's like linked with this guy, but she wants to get away. And there's this old haunted hotel on Nantucket, and some millionaire is for some mysterious reason coming along and spending millions of dollars renovating this hotel, even though its reputation has been in the gutter for years. People have tried to revive it and it's never successfully worked. And when he goes to hire a manager, Lisbeth says, I'm in, let's do it, and decides that she wants to switch things up and run the hotel. So it kind of goes through all the employees at the hotel, the haunting of the hotel, some of the little kids there, the new chef, her relationship with all the new employees, her relationship with her ex-boyfriend, and it's just like such a fun summery read. And so far I'm really loving it. I'm gonna assume I'm gonna end up giving it 3.5 to 4 stars, but I will update you at the end of next month what I officially end up giving the book, because it will be included fully in next month's wrap up. But those are all the books I read this month. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I missed you guys. I missed making videos. I will be back on it, I promise. And make sure you like and subscribe. I will see you guys shortly. Bye.